we all start acting together against GBV, we're not going to get to a point where we can start eradicating it. We need to find our voices and be the voice of the survivor. The Saartjie Bartman Centre for Women and Children is a one-stop centre for survivors of gender-based violence and their children. We've been around for 21 years now, and in that 21 years we've managed to assist 230,000 women and children survivors of GBV. And we do that by way of very many programs that we run from the centre. It's important to know that every single service that we run at Saartjie Bartman is free, gratis and for nix. We don't take any money from anybody for anything. At a centre this size, with 120 women and children, we're the largest centre in the country, you see harrowing stories pretty much every single day. Approximately 8 months ago, we were getting a lot more women that were coming in with burns. So they'd been thrown in the hands, in the feet or in the face with boiling liquids. And that was something that was escalating as a form of perpetrating gender-based violence. And at that same time, we were finding a lot of women brutally raped and left for dead. What we found during the pandemic, though, is even more insidious, is women that have been locked up, no access to the outside world, higher levels of control over survivors. So women that literally wouldn't be able to move from one room to the other. My number is out there to anybody that wants to access services for GBV in the country, and I would repeatedly get calls in the middle of the night from women saying, "This is the only time I can access you. He doesn't know that I have this phone." So those sorts of things are very much what's happening and still happening at the moment. So abuse isolates. It tells you that you're less than. It tells you that you're not worth anything. It tells you that there aren't any places that are going to assist you. It tells you that you're only going to be there. We all have an obligation when 1 in 4 women in our society are subjected to gender-based violence on a physical form. We should all know this by now. We shouldn't be saying, but why doesn't she just leave him? We should be actively listening, number one, and we should be aware of what resources are available for survivors so that we can assist survivors. South Africa has 5 times the global average of gender-based violence, which is just incredible. The reason for that is a very complex reason. So we have the traditional drivers of GBV that you see all over the world. Things like unemployment, substance abuse, impoverishment, gangsterism, those things that every country would see tying into GBV and driving it. We also have the legacy of the apartheid era that very much has inured us to power dynamics, control dynamics, as well as exposure to violence. We become completely desensitized to violence. And then we live in a patriarchal society in South Africa. Our gender gap across all levels is wide. So all of these historical reasons are also playing into gender-based violence as we know it. Where we start is that we stop talking immediately about addressing it and we start acting. I think, that's what we're really good in South Africa with having pieces of legislation that on paper are fantastic, but when it comes down to implementing and it comes down to taking action, we are less enthusiastic. So we need to start, all of us, understanding the man in the street, corporations, government departments, shelters, all civil society organizations, women in the street, we need to understand that this is our responsibility. It's a joint responsibility, and until such time as we all start acting together against GBV, we're not going to get to a point where we can start eradicating it. So when we see micro aggressions against women around us, call it out. Call out GBV when you see it. We need men to come into the space as well and become our allies against GBV. The time for this GBV space to be dominated by women is long over. Men need to stand with us, and they need to be very much involved in the dialogue, but also involved in the solutions towards GBV. So those are changes that we can make right now that could actually be cause long-term change. Over and above that, we need to hold our government departments accountable. It's difficult in a situation like South Africa is in, but we need to find our voices and be the voice of the survivor and hold them accountable for what is happening. Hold your protests, hold your marches, write to your president, support organizations that actually are rendering services for GBV survivors, and basically vote with your feet.